Good morning, students. Hope you all are fine. So, today we'll be starting with the next chapter, chapter number 7, study of gas laws. Now, study of gas laws we'll be continuing after understanding that what is gas is all about. Then only we'll be able to understand what are the laws of gases. Now, as we have already studied in from classes 4 or 5, you are studying that matter is anything that occupies space and has mass, and there are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid and gas. So in this chapter we will be studying about only gases and their various laws. Now what is gas? Gas is something which is the third state of matter, and it has certain characteristic properties which we'll be studying, how it is behaving and what are the various characteristics. First of all is the composition. Composition means what it is made up of. So gases are made up of, all the gases are made up of the molecules, the tiny particles which are called the molecules. Right? Then second characteristic is that they neither have a fixed volume nor a fixed shape. They do not have a fixed volume. Why? Because the intermolecular force of attraction, that is the force of attraction which is binding them or making them close to each other, that is very weak and almost negligible. Therefore they are far apart. So no fixed volume. Whatever is the volume of the container, it takes that whole volume, and nor a fixed shape, and therefore when the volume is not fixed, they take the shape of that container, whether it is a small room or a bigger room. Then gases, the next property is gases are highly compressible. So how come we can say that they are highly compressible? Because of the so much space. The space between the particles is too much that they can be easily compressed. They can, because if there will be space between the particles, only then only we can bring them close to each other. Otherwise we will not be able to bring them close. So therefore if they are far apart, therefore we can compress it very easily. Then next is they are highly expansible. Expansible means they can be expanded, they can be moved more farther apart because of the negligible force of attraction. So nothing, no force is binding them together. So negligible force of attraction, therefore they can move far apart. So that means they can be highly expansible. Then they will be having very low density. Density formula you must have studied in physics, that density is mass per unit volume, mass upon volume. So per unit volume, if we see, so the number of molecules is less, so that means the mass will also be less. So therefore the density in turn will be very low as compared to solids or liquids. Then gases, they have a natural tendency to mix with one another. This property is called diffusion. Now what is diffusion? First we will quickly understand that diffusion is the process of gradual mixing of two substances kept in contact by molecular motion. Diffusion process, this you must have come across in class 8th biology. Diffusion process, diffusion and osmosis, where the molecules are moving into each other. That is diffusion, moving from higher to lower concentration. Same way in this is the same concept, that gradual mixing of two substances, whenever they are kept in contact, they will be moving into each other, they will be mixing into each other by molecular motion. That means the molecules of two substances will be mixing with each other. So that this process is called diffusion. So they have a natural tendency possessed by the gases. Now the next is that gases can be liquefied. Now gases can be liquefied, it says it means that gases can be converted into solid state, right? So if we are compressing it, making it close to each other, the molecules, then they will be turning into the next state, that is the liquid state. So we can say that surely the gases can be liquefied. Now before starting with the gas laws, we need to understand the three three measures, that is temperature, pressure and volume, and how they are correlated with each other. So the very first thing in class 8th in chemistry itself, in the chapter of matter, you have studied kinetic theory of matter, and kinetic theory of matter, one point was there that all the particles present in the any state of matter, they do possess a kinetic energy. So kinetic energy of a particle is directly proportional to absolute temperature. This also, whenever we want to change the state of matter, then we used to give heat, that is the heat energy in the form of heat, and therefore the state can be changed from solid to liquid or liquid to gas. So that means what we are doing when we are giving the extra heat or extra heat energy or increasing the temperature, so the kinetic energy will be increased. So both are directly proportional to each other, because this is also increasing and this is also increasing. So if both the things are increasing on the same pace, then they are said to be directly proportional. Now absolute temperature, now absolute zero. So as we are saying that as we are increasing the temperature, as we are giving more of heat energy, then the average kinetic energy will be increasing. So vice versa, if we say that if we are decreasing the temperature, that means removing the heat energy, then the kinetic energy will be slowed down, right? So it means that if we keep on decreasing the temperature, then one stage will come that when kinetic energy of the particles will cease, will stop, they will not be moving further. So that particular temperature at which this thing will be happening, that is called the absolute zero. And it is just a theoretical concept, it is nothing related. Practically it is not possible, because we have already studied and kinetic theory of matter was already accepted that they are always in the random motion. So that is not possible. So this is just a theoretical concept, that as we are decreasing the temperature is decreasing, so molecular motion will also decrease, and one temperature will come that it will stop. So that gave rise to the next scale of temperature, that was Kelvin scale. Now absolute zero or 0 Kelvin, that this temperature theoretically was found to be minus 273 degree Celsius. So Kelvin and degree Celsius temperatures are can be interconvertible, so we can convert them. So if we want to convert degree Celsius to Kelvin, then what we have to do is, whatever temperature is given to us in degree Celsius, we will just add 273. Just remember this thing, that Kelvin to degree Celsius we will do plus 273. When we have to do vice versa, that is degree Celsius to Kelvin, we have to do minus 273. And this temperature as it is with the sign. For example, we have suppose 0 degrees Celsius we have to convert into Kelvin, right? So Kelvin will be equal to 0 degrees Celsius, 0 plus 273, that will give to 273 Kelvin. This is how we will be doing the conversions. Similarly, if we have suppose temperature in Kelvin is given as suppose 73 Kelvin, we have to convert it into degree Celsius. So what we are going to do is degree Celsius is equal to 73 minus 73 is in plus only, so plus minus 273. So it will be minus 200 degree Celsius. This we have to remember. Always children make sure that plus 273 and minus 273 should be done at the end. Right? Kelvin to degree Celsius, just add 273. Degree Celsius to Kelvin, just minus or subtract 273 from that particular temperature. Then comes the gas laws. Now gas laws is the behavior of a gas law states that the behavior of a gas under known conditions of pressure, volume and temperature is described by laws. So how the gases are behaving under the given conditions of pressure, volume and temperature. These three are the main criteria on which the gas will be behaving, and that is, if that behavior of the gas is described by certain laws, those laws are called gas laws, right? Now standard variables, we'll be discussing about pressure, volume and temperature one by one. Now volume, if we talk about volume of a gas, is the space occupied by that gas. The space occupied by a gas is equal to the volume of its container. So volume definition you have already studied in class 6, 7, 8. So not to repeat that again, it is just the how much volume, how much space it is being, anything is occupying. So anything, here we are talking about gas, so the space occupied by the gas. Then the units, the interconversion of the units you need to know. SI unit you need to remember that it is cubic meter. Now we'll be talking about pressure. Now pressure is the force that the gas exerts per unit area on the wall of its container. That how much force on particular area, how much force the gas is putting or exerting, that gives us the pressure. Now there is one more concept of atmospheric pressure. Now atmospheric pressure, the word itself is saying that the pressure exerted by the air or the atmosphere, right? Because atmosphere is made up of air only, so atmospheric pressure is the pressure exerted by the air on the surface of the earth. So that is called atmospheric pressure. Standard pressure of 1 atmosphere, right, is defined as the pressure exerted by 76 centimeter of Hg at 0 degree Celsius and at standard gravity of 9.8 meter per second square. SI unit of pressure is Pascal, written as PA. 1 atmosphere, then the relationship is 1 atmosphere pressure is equal to 76 centimeter Hg, which is equal to 760 mm Hg, which is equal to 760 torr. These all four are equal to each other. So we can write any one. Whenever we have to write, suppose in the numericals it comes at STP. So it just means standard temperature and pressure. So standard temperature is 0 degree Celsius and pressure will be 1 atmosphere. Or we can write 76 centimeter Hg or 760 mm Hg or 760 torr, whatever according to the question we'll be using. Now the last concept is temperature. Temperature is defined as degree of hotness of that gas, that how much hot that particular gas is. That gives us the temperature. Commonly used scale is Celsius scale. Another scale is Kelvin scale. And this conversion we have already studied. How whenever we have to convert degree Celsius to Kelvin, again I am writing degree Celsius to Kelvin, then we will be adding 273. Whereas if we want to convert Kelvin to degree Celsius, then we have to do is Kelvin minus 273. So these two things, if you will remember, then because these will be required in the numerical, because we'll always be using the temperature in the Kelvin. Even if in the numerical degree Celsius temperature is given in degree Celsius, you have to convert it first into Kelvin and then solve the whole numerical, and in the end you have to again, if you are supposed to calculate temperature, then again you will be calculating it, giving it in degree Celsius. That is what you have to keep in mind, and this is the conversion. The example I have already given to you. Now the relationship in the of volume and pressure. Now if we in the book you can see the figure that there is one syringe there, and at the nozzle of the syringe the rubber stopper is there, and above it, above the piston, we can see the weights. Now what we will observe is temperature, we have kept it constant, right? We have to keep this thing in mind, temperature is constant. So if we will keep on putting the weights, what we will be observing is that the syringe will be moving downwards, decreasing this volume of air, right? And as we will keep on removing the weights, the syringe, the piston of this syringe will be keep on moving upward, increasing the volume. So we can say that pressure will be inversely proportional to volume, right? Inversely proportional because one is increasing, other one is decreasing, right? So on this basis we have another law, that is the Boyle's law, which you will be watching it and understanding it in the next video. I hope you all have understood the chapter, and in the end of the chapter, wherever you can see the questions based on conversion of degree Celsius to Kelvin or Kelvin to degree Celsius, kindly do that so that you have a clear idea of how to do the conversion. Only then you will be able to solve the related numericals. Thank you.